So my name's Beverly Court and I live in the north of Scotland, and I've been practicing as an art therapist for more than 35 years. I was trained as an art therapist in quite a psychoanalytic tradition, but since then I have followed my personal interest in how the body and nature are involved when we're making art and when we're involved in healing and therapy. So now I practice and I teach what I call holistic art therapy or ecological art therapy, because we're involving not just this one individual, this one body, and this one individual is connected to the whole of the local surroundings, local field, and actually the whole of nature and culture going back in time. So we are very connected, and that's what I work with when I'm doing art therapy now, and that's what I teach. So historically, psychotherapy, and including art psychotherapy, was practiced in a room with a closed door, very private, and the relationships were the person to the therapist and both people to the art, like a triangular relationship, we used to say. I came to see very early on this was missing a lot of information for me, and was not the most true way of working therapeutically in my experience and my view. I very quickly realized that when people are making art, there's a lot going on with the body. The mind and the body are really, like a flow. It's a very physical activity. People really struggle with the materials. It gets very visceral. Yeah? I also noticed phenomena that would happen around the person when they were doing art therapy. So animals would come to the window, birds would come to the window and look directly at the person. Or suddenly the light would change, or it would feel like the quality of the air in the room had changed. So these were like local, natural phenomena would occur, but somehow very precisely timed to coordinate with the person's therapy, what they were feeling, what they were talking about. And I guess my own personal spiritual beliefs and my scientific view were also present. So I knew on some level we are all connected. This paradigm of interbeing feels true for me. Everything is connected and everything is somehow communicating with everything else. And I felt that I was seeing this in my art therapy sessions. And I wanted to not ignore it, not leave it out of my clinical notes. I wanted to invite it and invite the information that was included in these moments. So when I did that consciously, when I said, okay, nature, I'm interested in this, I want to see more, I really began to notice and see how the body-mind state of the person and the flow of their process was really very systematically connected to what was magnetized, if you like, around them. So for example, a very typical scenario in art therapy is somebody says, oh, I have a real problem with boundaries in my life. People break my boundaries, I can't say no. And they will start to make a painting about this, and someone will start hammering in the room next door. Someone will walk into the room. The wind will come up and bang on the window. So nature will very often demonstrate this in the moment for the person to see. Their own process amplified, if you like. And the effect of this is to very vividly help the person see, oh, this is what goes on in my life, and this is what I invite. And then they can start in other creative ways to work with this. Or very often some shift happens, some insight comes from this. When nature demonstrates this, some shift comes. So that's a very important part of it, is consciously involving and inviting nature to participate. So when I'm training therapists, I devise a lot of exercises which help to bring their attention to and what is going on now around you. Pause and notice, and now pause and notice what is going on in your breathing and what is going on in the trees, half a kilometre away. Can you see, can you feel your connection to the wider field? And my aim in this is to train therapists to become more sensitive to these field phenomena so that they can be relaxed and include this in their therapy, or see how it's influencing the therapy actually. Quite a lot of people now practice what they call ecotherapy or environmental therapy or art in nature, and it's wonderful, and it's all about helping people reconnect to nature in order to understand our dependency on it and to help us take responsibility for it. However, quite a lot of research showed that if you just send people out into nature and they're in their heads, they're thinking about what they're going to do, what they're going to buy in the shops, etc., they often can go to nature just like you go to the supermarket. They go, they pick up some materials, they cut some flowers, they come back, they make a piece of art. And not a lot has changed or moved inside them, maybe a little bit. So what I try to do, and some ecological therapists try to do, is we work with people on their own nature, like nature as it is in the body, our own somatic reality, if you like. And when I run trainings, I help therapists and clients and teachers very often to become very sensitive to this little field of nature. What's happening in my body? What's gurgling? What's happening? What are the processes? What does it feel like subjectively? To really notice changes. Oh, something changed in the room and my breathing changed. Oh, I've suddenly tightened my arms when I started drawing. Or to become interested. And to begin to attune their whole body system. And then when we go out into nature, it's like this fine instrument is an even finer instrument for responding to nature and for receiving nature's responses to us. So I'm quite happy with wasp visiting or fly visiting.
Yes.
They're very curious. Yes, so it's about sort of tuning this instrument, understanding the technology of the body, And for me, some of the ramifications of this are very, very wide-reaching and they're very profound. My colleague, Alexander Kopitin from St. Petersburg, has very well described that we almost need to look for forms of healing people that also protect nature. So we don't try and do a therapy with people, with humans, that ignores nature or that actually takes resources from nature and damages nature. So we heal a person, but we damage something else. Yeah. So we call it ecological art therapy because we're really looking at how do we practice art therapy from a deep ecological point of view. We really, all the time, conscious of nature's support and response. A number of authors now have written very well about nature as co-therapist. When you work in this way, it has really very deep and positive implications for therapists, I believe. When you work in this way, as a therapist, you feel you are not alone in a room with a lot of theory and your own body-mind, with a client trying to help hold and process all this client's traumatic experience, and also to process all the client's transferences onto you, all their projections and their needs and their longings and their expectations. You are sitting in nature with the whole of nature holding you and holding the process. This is a very different physical experience. So as a therapist, you have a whole tribe with you engaged in this process. And the way I train therapists to really experience this and to work with their own relationship with nature, my feedback from clients is they feel immediately, they feel the safety of this. They too feel held by something stronger, and they begin to develop trust in their own relationship to nature. So in art therapy, we talk about the transference onto the artwork. So when we make a painting from our deep emotions, the artwork, we call it a positive mirror. Even if you're feeling terrible, you put these terrible feelings onto the paper, but the paper doesn't say, "Shut up, you're a terrible person. How could you feel like this? What are you doing to me? Covering me in black paint." The paper goes, it receives your feelings. And it just sits there and looks back at you. So we call it like a positive mirror. You can transfer a lot onto the artwork, the clay, the paper, the sand. And it is received, it is held, with the witnessing of the therapist to say, it's okay, keep going, it's okay. When we work sometimes with the doors open or near a window where we can see a lot of nature, and or when we go outside and we can allow nature to also respond, what we can experience is how nature can hold a lot of our really huge, very frightening feelings.